The 1917 wheat penny was minted over a century ago during a pivotal time in American history. The United States was involved in World War I, and this small copper coin was a part of daily life for millions of Americans. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this penny features Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and 2 wheat stalks on the reverse, a design that symbolizes prosperity and unity. There were 3 versions of the 1917 wheat penny: the Philadelphia Mint, which has no mint mark, the Denver Mint with a D, and the San Francisco Mint with an S. Over 55 million were produced in Philadelphia, making it the most common. But even the Denver and San Francisco pennies saw large production numbers, with over 50 million and 32 million coins minted respectively. Now, let's talk about condition. A 1917 wheat penny in pristine, uncirculated condition can fetch hundreds of dollars. However, even a coin in poor condition, like this one, can have value. Why? Because collectors and history enthusiasts appreciate the story it tells. For coins in bad condition, the value depends on factors like rarity, mint mark, and overall demand. A heavily worn 1917 penny without a mint mark might be worth 10 to 50 cents, but if it has a D or an S, it could be slightly more valuable, ranging from 50 cents to $2. When evaluating your coin, check for details like the date, mint mark, and overall wear. Even if it's heavily damaged, unique errors, such as a doubled die or an off-center strike, could significantly increase its worth. Did you know that pennies from the early 1900s were made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc? That's why they've stood the test of time, even in less than ideal conditions. Imagine the journey this penny has been on, from being used to buy essentials during World War I to surviving decades of circulation. It's more than just a coin, it's a piece of history. Next up, the 1945 D wheat penny was minted in Denver during the final years of World War II. It features Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and 2 wheat stalks on the reverse, symbolizing prosperity and unity. This iconic design was part of the Lincoln Cent series, introduced in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of Lincoln's birth. In 1945, over 266 million wheat pennies were struck at the Denver Mint. This high production number makes the 1945 D a common coin in the series, but its historical significance adds to its appeal. These coins were made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a composition that shifted slightly during the war years due to metal shortages. Now, let's talk about condition and value. In circulated condition, the 1945 D wheat penny is typically worth 5 to 10 cents. In higher grades, such as extremely fine or about uncirculated, the value increases to around 50 cents to $1. Pristine, uncirculated examples can fetch $5 or more, depending on eye appeal and luster. Coins with unique errors or variations, such as doubled dies or repunched mint marks, can command significantly higher prices, sometimes reaching into the hundreds of dollars. When examining your 1945 D penny, pay close attention to the details. Look for wear on Lincoln's cheek and hair, as well as the wheat stalks on the reverse. A sharp strike and minimal wear indicate higher value. Additionally, search for mint errors, which are highly sought after by collectors. Did you know that during the war years, the US Mint experimented with alternative materials for pennies? In 1943, for example, they produced steel pennies coated with zinc to save copper for the war effort. By 1945, however, the mint returned to the traditional copper alloy, giving these coins their familiar reddish-brown tone. Imagine the journey of a 1945 D wheat penny. It could have been used to buy war bonds, ration goods, or even candy at a local store. Each coin carries a piece of history, connecting us to the everyday lives of those who lived through one of the most pivotal times in the 20th century. Next up, the 1944 wheat penny was minted during World War II, a time of great challenges and change in the United States. It features Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and 2 wheat stalks on the reverse, symbolizing prosperity and unity. This design, introduced in 1909, marked the centennial of Lincoln's birth. In 1944, over 1.4 billion wheat pennies were minted across 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. The Philadelphia Mint produced the most, with over 1 billion coins, making this a very common coin in circulation. These coins were made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, as the US Mint returned to this alloy after producing steel pennies in 1943 to conserve copper for the war effort. Now, let's talk about condition and value. In heavily worn or bad condition, a 1944 wheat penny typically has a value of 2 to 5 cents due to its high mintage and commonality. However, coins in better condition, such as extremely fine or about uncirculated, can be worth 10 to 20 cents. Uncirculated examples with pristine surfaces can fetch $1 to $3, and those with unique errors or variations, such as a doubled die or off-center strike, can command significantly higher prices. When examining a 1944 wheat penny in bad condition, focus on identifying key details like the date and mint mark. Even heavily worn coins may have errors like die cracks or repunched mint marks that add to their value. These details are highly sought after by collectors. Did you know that in 1944, a few pennies were mistakenly struck on leftover steel plankets from 1943? These rare steel pennies are among the most valuable Lincoln cents, with values reaching thousands of dollars at auction. If you believe you have a 1944 steel penny, it's worth having it authenticated. Imagine the life of a 1944 wheat penny. It might have been used by soldiers' families, buying rationed goods, or saved in a piggy bank during a time of uncertainty. Each coin tells a story of resilience and hope during a defining moment in American history. Next up, the 1941 D wheat penny was minted during a time of recovery from the Great Depression and the early days of World War II. It features Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and 2 wheat stalks on the reverse, symbolizing prosperity and unity. This classic design has been a cornerstone of American numismatics since its introduction in 1909 to commemorate Lincoln's centennial. In 1941, the Denver Mint struck over 128 million wheat pennies, making the 1941 D a common coin among collectors. These pennies were composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving them their distinctive reddish-brown tone. Despite being heavily circulated, they remain an accessible piece of history for enthusiasts. Now, let's discuss the value of a 1941 D wheat penny in bad condition. Heavily worn examples typically hold a value of 3 to 5 cents due to their abundance. In higher grades, such as very fine or extremely fine, the value increases to 10 to 50 cents. Uncirculated examples can fetch $2 to $5, while those with exceptional luster or unique characteristics may command even higher prices. Additionally, error coins like doubled dies, off-center strikes, or repunched mint marks are highly sought after and can significantly boost the value of your coin. When examining your 1941 D penny, focus on key features such as the date, mint mark, and overall condition. Even in bad condition, errors like die cracks or repunched mint marks can make your coin stand out. These subtle details are what collectors look for and appreciate. Did you know that during the 1940s, pennies were often used to support war efforts? Coin drives were common, where Americans donated pennies to help fund supplies and resources for soldiers overseas. This adds a layer of historical importance to coins from this era, including the 1941 D wheat penny. Next up, the 1947's wheat penny was minted in San Francisco in the years following World War II, during a period of economic recovery and growth in the United States. This coin features Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and 2 wheat stalks on the reverse, symbolizing prosperity and unity. This iconic design was part of the Lincoln Cent series introduced in 1909 to commemorate Lincoln's 100th birthday. In 1947, the San Francisco Mint produced approximately 99 million wheat pennies. While not as common as those struck in Philadelphia or Denver, the 1947 mints is still relatively easy to find for collectors. These coins were made from 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving them their characteristic reddish-brown appearance. Now, let's talk about the value of a 1947 S wheat penny in fine condition. In this grade, the coin typically has light wear but retains most of its details, making it appealing to collectors. A 1947 S in fine condition is worth around 10 to 20 cents. In higher grades, such as extremely fine or about uncirculated, its value can increase to 50 cents or more. Uncirculated examples with strong luster and minimal marks can fetch $2 to $5. Additionally, error coins, such as doubled dies, repunched mint marks, or off-center strikes, can command significantly higher prices depending on the rarity and desirability of the error. When examining your 1947 S penny, look closely at the mint mark and overall wear. Coins with sharp details in Lincoln's hair and the wheat stalks on the reverse are more valuable. Even minor errors or unique characteristics can add to the coin's worth and make it stand out among collectors. Did you know that pennies from the late 1940s were often saved by Americans as the economy improved? The copper composition of these coins makes them durable, and many have survived decades of circulation, preserving a piece of post-war history for collectors today. Next up. The 1956 wheat penny was minted during a period of post-war prosperity and economic growth in the United States. This coin features Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and 2 wheat stalks on the reverse, symbolizing prosperity and unity. This classic design, which debuted in 1909, is one of the most iconic in American coinage. In 1956, over 420 million wheat pennies were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, with no mint mark, making this coin very common and easy to find. The composition of the coin is 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it the reddish-brown appearance that collectors love. By this time, the wheat penny design was nearing the end of its run, as it would be replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959. Now, let's talk about the value of a 1956 wheat penny in fine condition. In this grade, the coin shows moderate wear but retains clear details on Lincoln's face and the wheat stalks on the reverse. A 1956 penny in fine condition is typically worth 3 to 10 cents. In higher grades, such as extremely fine or about uncirculated, the value can rise to 15 to 25 cents. Pristine, uncirculated examples with excellent luster can fetch $1 or more. Additionally, error coins, like doubled dies, repunched mint marks, or off-center strikes, can command significantly higher prices depending on the rarity and demand for the error. When evaluating your 1956 penny, pay close attention to the coin's details. Look for sharpness in Lincoln's hair, the bow tie, and the wheat stalks. Even subtle errors or die variations can add to the value, so examining the coin carefully is key. Did you know that the 1956 wheat penny was minted during the height of the baby boom era? This coin would have been part of the everyday transactions of families buying groceries, children saving allowances, and workers earning wages in a thriving post-war economy. Its durability and widespread use make it a tangible piece of history from a prosperous time in America. Next up, the 1957 D wheat penny was minted in Denver during a time of post-war prosperity and modernization in the United States. It features the enduring design of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, created by Victor David Brenner, and 2 wheat stalks on the reverse, symbolizing prosperity and unity. This design, introduced in 1909, has remained a cornerstone of American numismatics. In 1957, the Denver Mint produced an astounding 1.5 billion wheat pennies, making the 1957 D one of the most common coins of the series. These pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving them their characteristic reddish-brown color. By this time, the wheat penny design was nearing its end, as it would be replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959. Now, let's discuss the value of a 1957 D wheat penny in bad condition. In heavily worn or poor condition, this coin typically holds a value of 2 to 5 cents due to its high mintage and commonality. Coins in higher grades, such as extremely fine or about uncirculated, can fetch 10 to 20 cents. Uncirculated examples with exceptional luster can sell for $1 to $3. Error coins, such as doubled dies, off-center strikes, or repunched mint marks, can command significantly higher prices depending on the rarity and desirability of the error. When examining your 1957 D penny, pay attention to the mint mark and overall wear. Even in bad condition, coins with errors or unusual features can be more valuable. Look closely for signs of die cracks, doubling, or other anomalies that might set your coin apart. Did you know that pennies in the late 1950s were still a vital part of everyday transactions? The 1957 D wheat penny could have been used to purchase candy, pay for school lunches, or saved in a piggy bank. Its high mintage reflects the bustling economy of the time, where small denominations were essential for daily life. Imagine the journey of a 1957 D wheat penny. It might have passed through countless hands, been exchanged at local businesses, or saved as a keepsake by a collector. Each coin tells a story of mid-20th century America, connecting us to a vibrant era of growth and innovation. So, whether your 1957 D wheat penny is in bad condition or boasts a rare error, it remains a piece of numismatic and historical interest. If you enjoyed learning about this coin, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to USA Coin, and share your thoughts in the comments below. What coin should we explore next? Let us know. The 1947 Jefferson nickel, like most nickels of the era, is made of 75% copper and 25% nickel. It weighs about 5 grams and has a diameter of 21.2 millimeters. The edge is smooth, with no ridges or lettering, keeping in line with the simple, classic design of the coin. Interestingly, during World War II, the United States Mint produced a special war nickel that contained silver, but by 1947, the mint returned to the standard copper-nickel composition. So, if you're hoping to find a silver version of the 1947 Jefferson nickel, you won't find one. This is strictly a nickel coin. Now let's talk about the mintage of the 1947 Jefferson nickel. The total number of 1947 nickels produced across all mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, was over 200 million. This makes the coin relatively easy to find even today. If you're looking at the coin, you can identify the mint where it was produced by looking for a small mint mark. Coins from Philadelphia have no mint mark. Denver-produced coins feature a D, and San Francisco coins are marked with an S. The 1947 nickel was produced in all three locations, so keep an eye out for those mint marks if you're a collector. In terms of value, the 1947 Jefferson nickel is generally worth between 20 to 50 cents if it's in average circulated condition. However, if you happen to find one in higher grade condition, such as MS65, it could be worth a few dollars. Higher quality coins are less common, especially given how many were minted, but they can still be found, and they're a great addition to any collection. The most valuable versions of the 1947 nickel tend to be those with the S mint mark, especially if they're in higher grades, as they were produced in smaller quantities than those from Philadelphia or Denver. The 1947 Jefferson nickel is also historically significant because it came just after the end of World War II. During the war, the US Mint had to adjust coin production due to a shortage of materials. For a few years, the Mint produced a special type of nickel, known as the war nickel, that contained silver to conserve nickel for the war effort. With the war over by 1947, the Mint returned to producing regular copper-nickel coins, including the Jefferson nickel. This shift marks the 1947 nickel as a part of the transition back to normal coin production after the war. If you're interested in collecting 1947 Jefferson nickels, the best place to start is by checking your pocket change. Coins from this era often turn up in circulation, although most will be in lower grades. Still, don't let that discourage you. It's the hunt that makes coin collecting so fun. If you're hoping to find a rare version, the key is to focus on the condition and the mint marks. The higher the grade and the rarer the mint mark, the more valuable the coin becomes. Next up, the 1942 Jefferson nickel is part of a special group of coins produced during World War II. Typically, Jefferson nickels were composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel. However, because of wartime shortages of nickel, the US Mint produced a special version of the nickel in 1942, containing 56% copper, 35% silver, and 9% manganese. These war nickels were created to conserve nickel, which was needed for the war effort. But what makes the 1942 ESS stand out even more is that it's part of the series of war nickels that were minted in San Francisco. Coins minted in San Francisco during 1942 carry the S mint mark, and these coins are especially significant because they are part of a larger effort to create enough coins for circulation during a time of national crisis. You won't find any silver in the regular 1942 Jefferson nickels, but in the war nickels, the silver content makes these coins more valuable and distinct from the regular copper-nickel versions. The 1942 DS Jefferson nickel weighs 5 grams, just like its copper-nickel counterparts, but the silver content gives it a unique look and feel. The coin's diameter is still 21.2 millimeters, and its edge is smooth. If you look closely, you'll notice that the silver war nickels have a slightly different color and tone compared to regular nickels. They're often a bit lighter in appearance thanks to the silver content. Now, let's talk about the mintage and value of the 1942 Dus Jefferson nickel. The total mintage of the 1942 Dus war nickel was just under 22 million, which makes it a relatively scarce coin compared to some other 1940s nickels. The scarcity, combined with the silver content, increases its value over time. In average circulated condition, the 1942 Jefferson nickel can be worth around $2 to $5, depending on the overall wear and tear. However, coins in better grades, especially those in uncirculated condition or with higher levels of detail, can be worth much more. For example, a 1942 S war nickel in MS65 condition could be valued at $20 or more. The 1942 St. Jefferson nickel is also particularly interesting from a historical perspective. The production of war nickels during World War II was an important decision, reflecting the nation's commitment to supporting the war effort. As mentioned earlier, the mint replaced some of the nickel in the coins with silver to conserve the valuable metal, which was in short supply during the war. It wasn't until 1946 after the war had ended, that the mint returned to the regular copper-nickel composition for the Jefferson nickel. If you're a collector, the 1942 Jefferson nickel is an important piece to seek out. Given its relatively low mintage, silver content, and historical context, it's one of those coins that stands out in any collection. If you happen to find one in your pocket change, consider yourself lucky, especially if it's in good condition. Next up, let's take a look at the design of the 1987 D. Jefferson nickel. As with all Jefferson nickels, the obverse features a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, designed by Felix Schlag. This design has been in use since 1938, making Jefferson one of the longest-serving figures on U.S. coinage. Jefferson's profile is surrounded by the inscriptions, "Liberty, in God we trust," and the year of minting, which in this case is 1987. The reverse of the coin features Monticello, Jefferson's home in Virginia, which has been a constant feature on the nickel since its introduction. The Monticello design is a tribute to Jefferson's legacy and his role in shaping American history. The 1987 D. Jefferson nickel was minted at the Denver Mint, as indicated by the D mint mark located on the reverse side of the coin. Unlike some older Jefferson nickels, the 1987 D does not have any significant changes to its composition. The coin is made of the standard copper-nickel alloy, 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it a familiar weight of 5 grams and a diameter of 21.2 millimeters. Its edge is smooth, without any ridges or lettering. Now, let's talk about the mintage of the 1987 D. Jefferson nickel. In 1987, over 730 million Jefferson nickels were produced across all U.S. mints, with the Denver Mint accounting for the vast majority of those coins. The total mintage of the 1987 D was around 600 million, making it one of the most common nickels in circulation from that year. Because of its high mintage, the 1987 D. Jefferson nickel isn't particularly rare, but it is still an important coin for collectors who focus on more recent issues. In terms of value, the 1987 D. Jefferson nickel isn't worth much more than its face value in typical circulated condition. Most 1987 D nickels are worth just 5 cents, especially if they show signs of wear from being in circulation for many years. However, if you find a 1987 D Jefferson nickel in excellent condition, especially in grades like MS65 or higher, it can be worth a little more, possibly $1 to $2. Coins with higher grades, such as MS67 or MS68, can reach even higher values, though they are much harder to find in these pristine conditions. While the 1987 D. Jefferson nickel may not be as historically significant as some of the older coins in the series, it's still a valuable coin for collectors who focus on specific years and mint marks. It's a great example of a standard U.S. coin from the late 20th century, and it plays an important role in the ongoing legacy of the Jefferson nickel series. Next up, the 1940 Jefferson nickel is a fascinating piece of American history. Designed by Felix Schlag and introduced in 1938, this coin replaced the Buffalo nickel. The obverse features a profile of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, while the reverse displays his iconic home, Monticello. By 1940, this design was already a staple in American coinage. Despite being minted during the early years of World War II, this coin wasn't made with the wartime silver alloy used in later nickels. Instead, it's composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel. The 1940 Jefferson nickel was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Here's the breakdown of production numbers. Philadelphia produced over 176 million coins with no mint mark. Denver minted about 43 million coins marked with a D, and San Francisco struck roughly 39 million coins marked with an S. Coins from Denver and San Francisco are generally more sought after than those from Philadelphia. The value of a 1940 Jefferson nickel depends on its condition and rarity. In circulated condition, these coins are worth around 10 cents to 50 cents. Uncirculated coins graded MS60 to MS63 can fetch $3 to $6, while high-grade examples in MS65 or above, especially those with full steps on Monticello, can command $15 or more. The full steps designation, indicating the visibility of all 6 steps on Monticello, significantly boosts a coin's value. This feature is harder to find, especially in coins from the 1940s. If you're looking to add a 1940 Jefferson nickel to your collection, here are some tips. First, inspect the Monticello steps under magnification to check for the full steps feature. Second, look for minting errors or varieties, such as doubled dies or repunched mint marks, which can increase the coin's value. Next up, the 1951 Jefferson nickel is another notable coin in American numismatic history. Designed by Felix Schlag and introduced in 1938, the Jefferson nickel features a profile of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, on the obverse, and his iconic home, Monticello, on the reverse. By 1951, the design had become well established in circulation, continuing to represent an important period in U.S. coinage. The 1951 Jefferson nickel was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Here is the breakdown of production numbers. Philadelphia produced approximately 28.6 million coins with no mint mark. Denver minted about 20.4 million coins marked with a D, and San Francisco struck roughly 7.8 million coins marked with an S. Austic, with lower mintages compared to earlier years, the 1951 Jefferson nickel, particularly those from San Francisco, is considered more desirable among collectors. The value of a 1951 Jefferson nickel varies based on its condition and rarity. Coins in circulated condition are typically worth around 10 cents to 50 cents. Uncirculated examples, graded MS-60 to MS-63, can range from $3 to $8. High-grade specimens, particularly those in MS-65 or higher with the full steps designation, can command $20 or more. The full steps feature refers to the complete and visible details of all 6 steps on Monticello, a characteristic that greatly enhances a coin's value. Collectors should also keep an eye out for potential errors or varieties in the 1951 Jefferson nickel. These include doubled dies, repunched mint marks, or other striking anomalies that can make the coin significantly more valuable. Proper storage is crucial for maintaining a coin's condition. Use coin holders or albums and store them in a cool, dry environment to prevent tarnishing or damage. Next up, the 1978 Jefferson nickel holds its place as a representative of late 20th century U.S. coinage. Designed by Felix Schlag and first introduced in 1938, the Jefferson nickel features a profile of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, on the obverse, and his historic home, Monticello, on the reverse. By 1978, this design had been in circulation for 4 decades, reflecting the stability and continuity of American currency. The 1978 Jefferson nickel was minted in 2 locations, Philadelphia and Denver. Philadelphia produced approximately 365.4 million coins with no mint mark, while Denver minted about 333.6 million coins marked with a D. These high mintages make the 1978 Jefferson nickel a common coin, widely available to collectors and enthusiasts alike. The value of a 1978 Jefferson nickel in no fine or heavily circulated condition is minimal, typically worth its face value of 5 cents. However, uncirculated examples graded MS-60 to MS-63 may fetch around 25 cents to $1. Coins in higher grades, such as MS-65 or above, can command $5 to $10. The presence of the full steps designation, indicating the complete visibility of all 6 steps on Monticello, can significantly increase the value, often reaching $20 or more for high-grade specimens. While errors or varieties are less common in the 1978 Jefferson nickel compared to earlier years, collectors should still be on the lookout for anomalies such as off-center strikes, die cracks, or other minting errors. These can add unique value to what might otherwise be considered an ordinary coin.